Hi everyone, so this is your Unit 5A review. So this is what we've learned so far in geometry. You're going to be finishing it the rest of this class as well as next class. Make sure that you are coming in to the Google Meet for help as you are doing this. Even if you think you understand it, if you get the question wrong and then watch the explanation, just check with me and make sure that you understand the content. So this is a review of all of the content. Composite shapes, perimeter and area of 2D shapes, surface area and volume of 3-dimensional shapes, and the scale factors impact on all of that, the individual measurements, the area, surface area, and volume. Now try to complete it like it's a summative. Make sure that you show all of your work. Rewrite all necessary formulas. So if all of a sudden you get to something that's a trapezoid, just write down the trapezoid formula again. Redraw the pictures in your notebooks as well so you can mark them up as well. So I want to see them. Don't just be looking at the screen. It helps to do that. Draw the nets for the prisms. That's going to be very helpful for surface area, and color code as needed. Then you're going to be able to see the relationships much more visually. So let's go on to the first question. The first question, as you see, it's 1A, 1B will be with regard to scale factor. So start on this one, and once you input your answer, you'll be able to watch the answer key. If you need to pause it so you can take a look at it, all this, feel free. So I tried my best to color code it. So on the left, you have my volume. Notice that I drew in green the base so that you can see and take the correct measurements, the correct height of the trapezoid. I found that area of the base. I rewrote the general formula for volume. It's the area of the base times the height of the prism, the distance between the trapezoid. You'll see that my volume, again, I color coded. The 23.65 was the area of the base I'd already found. The 10, you'll see on the diagram, is the distance between the two trapezoids. That's the height of the prism. So I found my volume that way. I created a net for my surface area. I've color coded it. I've labeled it so you can see where the bottom matches the bottom of my trapezoid. The top is the top of the trapezoid. You'll see that I have 2 greens and 2 of the light blues. That's why there's the ×2, because I'm accounting for both of those sides in one. And I added those all up to get the surface area for the trapezoidal prism. Here's question 1B. We have now found the original surface area and the original volume. Find me the surface area and volume of the scale copy obtained with a scale factor of 3. Go ahead. Here's the answer to question 1B. So for surface area, we're thinking units squared. So we have to multiply by the scale factor squared. So I multiply by 3 squared, which is 9. 3 squared is 9. That gets my scale copy surface area. On the other hand, volume is units cubed. So we multiply by scale factor cubed. 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27, which gives us our scale copy's volume. There's question 1B. Question 2A, you are going to be finding the perimeter of the composite shape. Use 3.14 to represent pi. B will deal with scale factor. Go ahead. Here is the answer to question 2A. So I saw that I had 2 semicircles, and that actually the full distance was 15, but if I eliminated the 2 sides of 3, I could see that the diameter was 9. Therefore, I used circumference equals diameter times pi to get that the circumference of the circle was 28.26. Now, for the rest, I want to make sure you understand a strategy that I can use. Well, I notice color code as you go. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why I have 3 times 4. Then I have 1, 2, 5. That's why it's 5 times 2. By the whole diagram being colored, I now know I haven't forgotten any of it. I put it together and I found my perimeter. Question 2A, find the perimeter of the scale copy of the composite shape obtained with a scale factor of 1/2. So this is perimeter. Think about how it differs from what we just did in 1A from area and volume. Here is the answer to 2A. So unlike the previous one where we had to, for area, square it, for volume, cube the scale factor, here we just multiply by the scale factor. The units are just millimeters. They're not millimeters squared, not millimeters cubed. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure you're popping in at any point to ask for assistance. Here is question 3A. Find the missing side length given the information. As you found out, I gave you one on purpose that didn't work out nicely because I wanted you to really think about how it worked versus just guess and checking. So I know that base times height, well, my base you see highlighted in green, so I wrote in green 2.8 times h divided by 2 will be 4.6. So, well, I can do 2.8 divided by 2, that's 1.4. So 1.4 multiplied by h is 4.6. That's just an equation. Let me use inverse operations. And I was able to solve. Now, our original area was 4.6 meters squared. Find the area of the scale copy of the diagram obtained with a factor of 1/2. Go back and think about 1A, what we did for surface area. Now, I left my work in fraction form, but you might know that a scale factor of 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. So in essence, what we're doing is dividing by 4 because it's area. So we're doing squared. So we divide by 4, which is the same thing as multiplying by 4. There's no part B for this. Purely find the surface area and volume of the following triangular prism. Again, use a net to help you. Use color coding to help you make sure you have the correct height of the triangle versus height of the prism. Go ahead. Just like the previous one, I followed the same structure for volume, highlighting the base in green, and then the distance between the bases, also known as the height of my prism, in orange, and I color coded that in my calculation for volume so you can see what matches what. I created a net for the triangular prism, and I again color coded that as well with the work, so you're able to see how I arrived to 271.2 kilometers squared. Don't forget those units. Don't forget that area squared, kilometer, volume is cubed. Pause this if you need to before moving on. I now have a cylinder for you. Find the surface area and volume of the cylinder. Here is the volume and surface area of this cylinder. Again, same structure as previous. Notice that on the surface area, when I unwrap the rectangle from the circles, notice that I labeled the one side 11, the distance between them, and the other side was the circumference, the thing wrapped around the circle. And so I did a reminder that circumference is diameter pi. I used that one because I have the diameter. So then I used that and multiplied the result of that by 11 to find the area of the rectangle. And that got me my final surface area. Question 6. So it's a 6A, 6B. That means we're going to have a scale factor. Find the area of this composite shape. Go ahead. Here is the work for this one. We have a trapezoid and a semicircle. So again, I color coded it, trapezoid in green, semicircle. Don't forget to divide by 2. We don't want a full circle. And I also divided the diameter by 2 as well. So I had to do 2 divisions by 2, and I found my total area. Here's 6B. Find the area of the original of the scale copy if I'm using a scale factor of 10. Here's the answer to 6B. We're dealing with area, so we multiply by scale factor squared. So I did 10 squared, which is 100, which results in 54,825 meters squared. Okay, last question. Now, the formative had lots of questions like this, and I told you to expect those types of questions on the summative. I'm giving you one here. I will mark you correct if you get it correct. 7B, you can answer without 7A. You have that original volume. I want to find the volume with a scale factor of 1/5. Go ahead. I'll talk about 7a in a moment, but first 7b, we're doing with volume. So I'm multiplying by the scale factor 3 times. So it's 1/5 cubed, which is 1/25. Again, you might see that as being the same as dividing by 5 3 times. 250 divided by 5, divided by 5, divided by 5. That still gets you to 2 centimeters cubed. Now that we think about, go back to 7a, I'm going back to our thought that volume is equal to the area of our base. And again, I've done the base in blue, I've written B in blue, multiplied by the height of the prism. I've done the height of the prism in orange and the height of the prism in the diagram in orange. So let's just start to think of something. Let's find something. I'm just going to play around. I'm going to pick the first numbers in my head. I'm going to say that the area of my base, I'm going, because I see a lot of 5s there, I'm going to pick a 5 and a 10. This way, so far, the area of my base is 50. I've just randomly picked it. So I now think to myself, 50 multiplied by what is going to give me my volume of 250? Well, the answer, what's going to that be? It also is going to be 5. So this will result in a rectangular prism with a volume of 250 centimeters cubed. Don't just randomly guess everything. Let's use those strategies and pick some of them and then use algebra to assist us in finding the rest. Remember, this is your review for the summative. So if you do not understand any of this, you should be reaching out to me prior to starting the summative on May 4th. Bye, everyone.